And welcome to another video on how to secure yourself financially. So, because I was looking at the different operating assets and liabilities, right? Because, well, I am looking at the beginner guide to financial statement made by the sec.gov when they mention, well, if you are able to read nutrition labels or uh, box scores of baseball or soccer box scores, you can learn to read the basics of financial statements. As well as if you can follow a recipe or apply for a loan, you can learn the basic of accounting. And the basics, they're not difficult. They are rocket science. So after all, this statement, they show you the money. Period. From the Cuba Gooding Jr.'s Immortal Lines from Jerry Maguire movie, show me the money. That's what it is. Okay, so there are four type of financial statements: balance sheets, which shows you what a company owns and what it owns at a fixed point in time; the income statements that show you how much money a company made and spent again over a period of time; the cash flow show the exchange of money between the company and the outside world; and the statement of the shareholder that change the interest of the shareholders over time. So this section only focus on the first three, which is the balance sheets, the TLDR, that it shows you the company assets, liabilities, and shareholders equity over a period of time; and the income statement, that the bottom line of this show you is if a company made a profit or not. Okay, and on the cash flow statement, report a cash or the in the inflow or outflow of cash. So while the balance sheet, uh, or in this case, while the net income from the income statement can tell you whether a company made a profit, cash flow show you or can tell you if a company generate cash. And this is very important because after all, company needs to have cash on hand to pay this expense or to purchase assets. And it reuse the information from the balance sheets and the income statements, and the bottom line of this show you the net increase or decrease of cash. And it is made of three main parts, which is uh, each part review the cash flow from one of these activities. And again, this is one of the uh, or this is the three main business activity according to Investopedia. So Investopedia mentioned as Investopedia. If you go back here to the Investopedia shows that, right? Investopedia show is business activities. Business activities, right? And the three main types, okay? The three main type of the business activity is the operations, financing, and investing. Okay, so operation is the day-to-day activity that the company needs to do. The financing is the amount of money that a company share or invest in others, and the financing, the amount of money that a company receive from. Okay, and this is the main activity or the main type of a business activity according to Investopedia. So if you're not able to receive any fund, okay, you are not able to create a business. Period. You know, again, this is part of the three main type of Investopedia. If you're not able to get funding from a particular activity, then my friend, you, unless you ask for a loan, only then you can create your business. Okay, only then you can create that. And then once your business is sustainable, then you will face some of the dark forces, especially from the government. And ultimately, the end goal of a business is to become a monopoly, but that's a whole another story. But in any case, so the cash flow, okay, it analyzed the the cash flow statement analyze the cash flow from one of these type of business operations: operating activities, financing, and investing. Okay, so for the operating activities, the whole point of this is to look at the net income and analyze, well, conciliate that with any cash that was used from any operating activities, whether it's liabilities or assets. Okay, but basically is that, right? Basically is this. So the first part of the cash flow statement analyzes the cash flow from the net income or losses. For most companies, this section of the cash flow statements reconciliate the net income to the actual cash the company received from or used in its operating activities. So, in other words, this section of operating activities in the cash flow analyzes the net income or losses from the income statements and conciliate to the actual cash that it received from or used in its operating activities. And the most common operating activities, which is split on liabilities and assets. Operating assets, we found here accounts receivables, inventory, prepay expense, so expense that a company made in advance for good or service to enjoy in the near future, such as insurance premiums like health for medical coverage, home or your vehicle to protect them against accidents or fires and any potential damage, life in to protect you or someone or your family or friends in the event of the policy death, the the uh, the policy the policy the death of the policy holder. I think it's it. In the event of the policyholder's death. And also you find is liabilities such as lawsuits, disability, and long-term care such as nurse home care and uh, nurse home care or home health care. You also have here rent, marketing, office supplies, software licensing, maintaining contracts. And other operating assets are intangible assets. Well, here we can find is the patent, exclusive right to provide the inventors for create, manufacture, and distribute their invention over a period of time. Example of this from popular mechanics, right, is well, maglev, this electromagnetic device for suspension and stabilization of ground vehicles, issued in 1969. The GPS, this navigation system using satellites and passive ranging techniques, issued in 1974. The electronic device, or also known as the iPhone, in 2007. The CRISP gene editing in 2014. And this is just a couple examples. Then I also look at the trademark, which are words, designs, or logo that uniquely identify this company from the rest, such as the famous, on the US, of course, the famous word from Michael Burry, the famous quote for Michael Burry, let's get ready to rumble. Okay. Also, you have his copyrights, which are exclusive rights to um, creators of original work for distribute and manufacturing the creation over a period of time, such as Netflix, Twitter, McDonald's, goodwill, the brand's reputations, recognitions, and customer loyalty, trade secrets, which are confidential data that company may use or will use to gain competitive advantage, such as process, formulas, or customer list, as well as customer relationship. This is just a couple examples of one of these operating assets. To recap, well, we have accounts receivable, inventory, prepaid expense, property, plant, and equipment, very famous among accountant, intangible assets. Now I move on to investment in affiliates, where here is company that invests in another company to earn or to gain some influence, but not full control. The whole idea here is to earn a profit, or they earn a return uh, from the investments, or to gain competitive advantage. And joint venture is one of them, where now two or more company partnerships, or where it's a partnership between two or more companies when they want to undertake a specific business activity or a project. Okay. So what I want to do here, uh, this might be a little bit off topic, but this is exactly what I would like to do if I dedicate time to Knox into this topic, right? So yeah. And then the other, wow, did I lose my shed? uh, yeah, wow, did I lose my shed? Mm. Where we are talking about these operating assets, investment in affiliates, joint ventures, okay, and the example of Crocs and Post Malone, equity investments, where now companies invest in another company, or it purchased significant amount of stake in another company stocks to gain influence and potentially rise a voice in the another's company management decisions. So example of this, you have Berkshire Hathaway, led by Warren Buffett, where now this is a holding company. And when you talk about holding companies, they are parent companies that the way how they interact with another company is through stocks. So they own these companies, or uh, a, a portion of that company, and that's the way how they interact with this company. They don't engage in a direct business activity with it, only through owning stocks. Okay, uh, so Berkshire Hathaway invests in a variety of sectors like industry, retail, and real estate. You also have SoftBank, which is a Japanese conglomerate that mainly invests in technology companies such as WeWork, Uber, and so on. And Alphabet, the parent company of Google, that invests as well in a variety of technology companies where it does that through its venture capital arm, Google Ventures. So he have a section of that. And um, another example is the TPG, Texas Pacific Group, which is a private equity firm that invests in a variety of uh, sectors as well as retail, home health, and healthcare, and a Blackstone, which is investing firm that invests again in a variety of sectors. And the most notable investment of them is something called BUs, which is a Bangalore uh, online education platform, somewhat the competition of Khan Academy, another online platform headquarters on San Francisco, if I recall that right. So then I also look at another example of investment in affiliates, such as a limited partnership, where now a company in an investors purchase significant stakes, were not or yeah purchase a significant stakes of the companies or the limited partnership, and they provide is control of and they provide is share to control up to a certain point the partnership's assets and operations, which is kind of fucked up, you know. And when someone actually comes here and tells you what to do, so it is better for you to do the work. Okay. Then I also look at, yeah, how do you put it? Yeah. Then I also look at mhm. uh, so that'll be. Then I also look at something called the associates. Okay, where this associate has most of the time owns a significant amount of shares on the company, something around 20 or 50% of the share of a company. And this is important to understand these kind of in investment in affiliates. Okay, to recap, we have is joint ventures, equity investment, limited partnerships, and associates. Okay, so with that, all right, then I also look at other operating assets such as um, money or cash and cash equivalents, such as money market funds, where they invest in a variety of short or very short term debt. Uh, such as bank deposit, which is a saving account with short-term maturity, bank debt, uh, com- uh, commercial paper, or aka enterprise risky enterprise debt, and the repo repurchase agreement, or yeah, repurchase uh, agreement. So repo in money market is an obscure repurchase agreement. Is an obscure but important part of the financial system that has drawn increasing attention lately. On average, 2 trillion to 4 trillion in repurchase agreement collateralized short-term loans are traded each day. But how does the market for repurchase agreement actually work? What's going on with it? So repo flow, repurchase agreement, cash investors, asset managers, money funds, and other, and they get security from dealers, and the dealers offer this cash to prime service clients, hedge funds, and others. Mm, a lot of securities, bank, broker dealers, hedge funds to borrow cheaply and allows parties with a lot of spare cash, money market mutual funds to earn a small return on the cash without much risk, because security, often US Treasury, serve as a collateral. Um, a scarce reserve framework. Banks try to hold just the minimum amount of reserve. Okay, okay. Are any financial regulation contributing to the problem in the repo market? Global CFI search. Okay, but in any case, they exist, right? Repurchase agreement, okay, which is very short-term debt issue by, uh, according to Investopedia, uh, governments, right? So they're backed by treasury bill. Okay, so then I look at the operating liabilities. The most common of them are the accounts payable, which is money that you owe to your suppliers or vendors for good or service that you have received but not yet paid for. Okay, so here you may encounter is like raw materials, service. Okay, and the subtle difference between accounts payable with accrue expense is that this is our expense that a company incur for good or service that was received but not yet paid for. The subtle difference is that accounts payable is money that you owe directly to the vendors or your suppliers. And the subtle difference between suppliers and vendors is that suppliers are needed, critical for your business, whereas vendor does not. To put it simple, right? And now accrue expense is, well, there are expenses that a company incur for good or service that has been delivered but not yet paid for. For example, here are salary and wage, rent, taxes, utility bills. I also look at the, this is for ChatGPT here. Okay, let me relog in here. Okay, let's going to open up the database that I'm used here, and that is with the tech fields. And now they're using is OAuth 2.0. Okay, interesting. Authentication, that's right. That's right. That's right. OAuth provide authentication and authorization as a service. Yeah, period. OAuth 2.0 OpenAI. Jeez. Traffic website. Holy fudge. 3%. Holy fudge. Interesting. This website is made of Knox. View and Knox. Uptime Robot. Stripe 3. Recache. Framework Score. Platform as a Service. Amazon Web Service. Using Node.js. Google Charts. Appointment with Calendly. In Crisp. Live Chat. In CloudFront. Amazon CloudFront. OAuth 2.0 technology stacks. Contentful, Next.js, Style Components, Apple iCloud. Node.js and Erlang is funny. Erlang. Web servers, Next.js or Cowboy. JavaScript frameworks and AMP. This is for a originally created by Google. It's an open source HTML framework developed by APM. But this is a JavaScript framework. Okay. In any case, man, I don't want to get functional programming language and garbage collector runtime system. PHP and C, Node.js and Java. Holy sh! Market shares C, Node.js, and Node.js is gaining popularity here, man. I love it. TypeScript and Python. They gaining popularity here, and also GraphQL. Interesting. Very, very interesting. It's a web component framework to easily create user-first experience. Web stories, AMP, documentation. Interesting. You get all the components. Very, very interesting. Oh, come on, I just want to go back. Not interesting. They also provide an e-commerce for that. Getting started. Interactivity, dynamic content, client-side filtering. Interesting. Mm, of course, but this is very narrow specific for. I mean, that's great. It is also made by the OpenGS Foundation, but the problem is that um, it is it is easy to integrate. That's one of the reasons why AMP is not. You don't hear much about this. You know what I mean? You don't hear too much about AMP. You don't hear too much about AMP. You know what I mean? And there is a reason for that. Yeah, okay, that's great. But the issue is, well, in the United States, a breakdown of country and language used by AMP. But the reason is that AMP uh, technology is not the most popular AMP alternative. The reason is that Vue.js about GitLab, it has been more popular than others. In the United States, it's about GitLab. And they slowly integrate that, They slowly integrate OpenAI that come. Interesting that now they are using this. But they're using is Vue and Nux for that. Exactly for their blog. So they can easily manage that. Exactly. Interesting. Very, very interesting. But in any case, man, we're just here, just asking a question or looking about the question that I did based on the other operating assets. Here is operating activities. That's right. So operating liabilities, right? So we have account payable, which is money that you owe to your suppliers and vendors for service that has been rendered to you but not yet paid for, such as raw material, service. So if I look at this, the accounts payable, okay, so you have is raw materials, office supplies, service, and the other uh, is accrue accrue expense. Okay, and accrue expense is expense that a company incur for good and service that has been received but not yet paid for. Okay, and here we have as well salaries and wage, rent, utility, and taxes. And when I talk about is now the deferred revenue, which are payments that you have collect. Yeah, it's payment that you have collect payment that you have collect in advance for good or service that has not yet been delivered or provided. Okay, is for example, you have subscription service like Netflix, Spotify's prepaid maintenance service, like for maintaining service, let's say you hire a maintenance provider, or you are, yeah, let's say you hire a maintenance provider, and that become is an asset to you because you, after all, you have to pay for that. But for them, for this maintaining company, well, now they need is to collect the payment, uh, and promise that they're going to deliver that service. Okay, so this deferred revenue, okay, this deferred revenue means that is payment that you have collect in advance for good or service that has not been delivered, for good or service that has not yet been delivered, such as subscription service. If you are, as a company, if you are Netflix or Spotify, okay, or any company that uses a subscription based model, so you collect the money, all right, in advance for good or service that has not been yet delivered or provided, meaning that you have to constantly provide that service in the case of Netflix or Spotify until the subscription service expire. Okay, let's say 1 month, 6 months, a year, blah blah blah. Right? Cool, cool. Another example is prepaid maintenance, which behaves somewhat similar as the subscription models, and gift cards. Again, if you're a company, you already collect that money, and uh, you have a promise to redeem that when the users uh, wants to consume that. So this is a deferred revenue. And deferred revenue in Spanish is ganancias diferidas. Deferred revenue. It is important to track and manage as it presents a future obligations to deliver a good or service. Exactly. This represents a future obligations to provide good and service that can impact the company cash flow and financial position. So in other words, this deferred revenues are obligations that a company to pay, are obligations, are future obligations. Exactly. This is our future obligations to deliver good and service to the customer. Okay, but this is future obligations to deliver good and service to customers that has been collect first, that have been previously collect. Okay. Then what is the another example of operating liabilities? Okay. We also have income tax payable, meaning short-term borrowing. What the fuck? Why not? Come on, man. Okay, reload this again. Only one message at a time. Please allow any other response to complete before sending another. Okay. So you're screwed. Yeah, you're screwed. Yeah, you're screwed. Oh my god. Basically you're screwed. Okay. Operating activities part 2. Oh my god, what the fuck? I'm blocked. Yeah, I'm fucking blocked. For really? It's like, whoa, you're gonna block this? Mm-hmm. Okay. Mm-hmm. Say no more. Okay. Mm-hmm. Well, in any case, well, if ChatGPT doesn't work, let's go to find another income tax payable meaning Investopedia. Okay. Okay. Mm-hmm. So income tax payable is a liability. Is a liability reported to for financial accounting purpose that indicates the amount that our organization expects to pay income tax within the 12 months. It is reported in the current liability section of a company balance sheet. The calculation of income tax payable is determined in accordance with generally accepted accounting principles, taking into account the tax rates in the law of jurisdiction where the organization is subject to taxes. United States taxpayers are subject to federal, state, and local tax law, as well as the tax law for any other country where they operate and realize income. Oh my god, United States taxpayers are subject to federal, states, and local tax law as well as tax law for any other countries where they operate and realize income. But they realize income. The rules of determining the amount of tax owed government tax authority for a year and the financial accounting rule for reporting tax or financial statement deferred. For U.S. company, the tax reflected on financial statement include federal, state, and local taxes, as well as taxes imposed by others jurisdictions where the company operates and realizes income. Income tax payable is the financial accounting term for a current tax liability. It's a financial accounting term for a current tax liability reported on the company balance sheet. Okay, is the amount of tax you owe to the tax authority, the IRS. The balance sheet amount for income tax payable equals the amount of tax due to be paid to government tax agency within 12 months. And you have income taxes to be paid in a future. Mhm. Income taxes to be paid in a future year are reported on the balance sheet as deferred income tax liability. But in any case, income tax payable. In Spanish, this is impuestos de ingresos por pagar. But the funny thing of this is this, or not that funny, is this income tax payable. The calculation of the income tax payable is determined in accordance with the general accepted accounting principles, taking into account the tax rate in the law of the jurisdiction where the organization is subject to tax. United States taxpayers are subject to federal, state, Cornell Law School legal information. So United States taxpayers are subject to federal, state, and local tax law, as well as tax law of any other country where they operate, exactly where they operate and realize income. But if they're not operate, what they do is just hiring them as a contractor. Leave the contractors to handle that taxes. Mm. Mm. Very, very, very interesting. Mm. Will you regenerate that? No? Yeah, man, you fucked up. Okay. So that's the operating liabilities. So income tax payable. So for that, that'll be all for this video. Take care. Bye bye.